The literary world is mourning the passing of David Malouf, the acclaimed Australian author, poet, essayist, and librettist who died at the age of 92. Widely regarded as one of the defining voices of modern Australian literature, Malouf shaped how readers understand identity, belonging, and memory. From his multicultural upbringing in Brisbane to global literary recognition, his career spanned decades of thoughtful storytelling that explored the tension between landscape, history, and the human spirit. This video looks beyond the headlines to examine his early life, artistic career, critical reception, controversies, and the lasting lessons of his work. What was David Malouf's early life like? David Malouf was born in Brisbane in 1934 into a culturally diverse family. His father was of Lebanese heritage, and his mother came from an English-Jewish background. This blend of cultures deeply influenced his understanding of identity and belonging. Growing up in suburban Queensland, he developed a strong connection to landscape and environment, elements that later became central to his writing. After studying at the University of Queensland, he worked as a teacher before moving to Europe, where he lived in London and Italy. These experiences shaped his perspective as both insider and outsider, a theme that appeared repeatedly in his novels and poetry. How did his family background influence his writing? Malouf's mixed cultural heritage gave him a unique lens through which he viewed Australian society. He often explored characters caught between worlds, reflecting his own sense of cultural layering. His writing frequently examined migration, displacement, and the search for belonging. Critics noted that his sensitivity to identity and memory came directly from his multicultural upbringing and his experience of navigating different traditions. What defined David Malouf's artistic style? Malouf's work was known for its lyrical prose, philosophical tone, and quiet emotional depth. He focused on inner lives rather than dramatic action, allowing atmosphere and reflection to guide his storytelling. His writing often explored the relationship between people and landscape, particularly the Australian environment. He blended poetic language with historical themes, creating narratives that felt both intimate and expansive. Which works brought him major recognition? One of his most celebrated novels was Remembering Babylon, which explored the fragile boundary between European settlers and the Australian wilderness. The book received international acclaim and became a defining work in Australian literature. His poetry collections and essays also earned praise, while his work as a librettist demonstrated his ability to move between literary and musical storytelling. What did critics admire about his career? Critics praised Malouf for elevating Australian literature to a global stage. They admired his poetic language, intellectual depth, and careful exploration of identity. Analysts often described him as a writer of quiet power whose work revealed the extraordinary within ordinary life. His ability to merge personal memory with national history was frequently highlighted as one of his greatest strengths. Many also commended his contribution to shaping discussions about Australian identity. What criticisms did he face throughout his career? Some critics argued that Malouf's writing was too slow and introspective for general audiences. Others felt his stories prioritized mood and symbolism over plot. A number of reviewers suggested that his characters sometimes represented ideas rather than fully developed personalities. There were also debates about his portrayal of colonial themes, with some commentators questioning whether his works simplified complex historical realities. Despite these criticisms, even detractors acknowledged the elegance of his prose. How did analysts view his influence on Australian literature? Analysts widely considered Malouf a bridge between traditional European literary influences and modern Australian storytelling. His work helped redefine how Australian identity could be expressed in literature. Scholars noted that he encouraged introspection rather than nationalism, presenting Australia as a place of layered histories and emotional landscapes. His influence extended to younger writers, many of whom cited him as a mentor and inspiration. Did he contribute beyond novels and poetry? Yes, Malouf worked as a librettist for opera and also wrote essays reflecting on culture, identity, and literature. His contributions to multiple forms demonstrated his versatility. He believed storytelling could exist across artistic boundaries, and his work in opera brought literary depth to musical performance. His essays further shaped intellectual conversations about national identity. Why was he considered a major literary voice? Malouf captured the psychological and emotional dimensions of Australian life. He explored themes of belonging, memory, and transformation. His work emphasized quiet reflection rather than dramatic conflict. Readers and critics saw him as a writer who gave voice to internal landscapes as much as physical ones. This distinctive approach earned him lasting recognition. What lessons can be learned from his career? Creative identity can emerge from cultural diversity. Quiet storytelling can be powerful and lasting. Landscape and place can shape narrative meaning. Literature can help societies understand themselves. Longevity in art comes from curiosity and reflection. Art does not need spectacle to achieve depth. How is his legacy remembered today? David Malouf's legacy lives in his novels, poetry, essays, and influence on future writers. His work continues to be studied in universities and read by audiences around the world. He reshaped how Australian stories are told and expanded the global understanding of Australian literature. His words remain a guide to exploring identity, memory, and belonging. Finally, with the passing of David Malouf, literature loses a thoughtful and poetic voice. His work transformed quiet moments into lasting reflections and helped define a national literary identity. His legacy remains in the landscapes he described and the questions he explored about who we are and where we belong. If his writing or story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like the video, share it with others, and subscribe for more educational stories about remarkable lives and legacies.